Hello, back again. We're back again. Got some vitamin C. So let me continue with my story, which needs telling. Let me first of all explain the thumbnail on the videos. I put a GKR badge and I've also put a money thing because it's basically what it was. It was just all about how much cash can you get, how much money can you get from doing this. And I'll be honest with you, I made a lot. I made a heck of a lot for a young guy. So yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, it was a karate club that had a business. Over the years, things changed, and bearing in mind, I started working for them in the year 2000, and I left them in 2017. So 17 years of my life I dedicated to that club and those people. Now, if you can hear snoring in the background, you have to ignore that. That's me dog Dougie. He's a bit of a snorer. So there we were. I signed my agreement and I became a manager. First thing to do was go out and find dojos, find somewhere to train, somewhere to open up, somewhere for the team of consultants, which were the next managers. For the team of consultants to come stay with me for a week and canvas. And I would canvas with them because I wasn't going to get paid for 2 weeks. So I had to get some money somehow. And what better way to get money than use your little folder, which was a money-making machine. It was a legal way to print money, as we used to call it. So I went around one day, I found 3 or 4 dojos, that we could open, that we could canvas for, and put my shirt and tie. I went around in my blue Renault. I forget which sort of Renault it was. But yeah, I went around. I got my map because sat nav wasn't a thing in those days. So I had my map book of potential areas that we could go canvas. And I found a couple of different locations, had them signed off, got the agreements done, gave them the insurance documents, etc., etc. I then had to then get those locations approved. So once we'd gone through it with the key holder or the person that runs the venue, we then had to send off via fax. Yes, fax. Via fax the actual hall hire agreement so that the zone director, Mr. McCracken, could sign it off and say, yep, you can go ahead with that. We were given pages. Yes, pages. Oh, how things have changed. Every manager had a pager which you carried with you 24/7. Okay? We had to pay for our own mobile phones. I was told I was going to get £25,000 a year. That didn't. I had to pay VAT on that. So out of every month of £2,000, there's probably £300-400 of VAT that I had to pay because everybody who registers, everybody who becomes a manager with GKR, you have to open a company, a limited company. Now, limited companies are brilliant because there is no liability to the individual, okay? So, I had to open a limited company, which I did. Their first thing was you had to be with Barclays, who went through vigorous credit checks, and my credit score sucks, man. So then they said, we can open it out to anybody now. We can pay any bank now. So I went with NatWest and I opened a limited company there. Got myself an accountant because I didn't want to deal with all that accountant stuff. So I got myself a chartered accountant, and I had to pay VAT out of the 25 grand a year that I was receiving, which equated to about 300 quid a month. Something daft like that. Because I was a sports company, we had a flat rate VAT, which I think I think VAT back then was 15%, but our flat rate was 10%. So we had to pay 10% VAT because we were a sports company. So you could go on flat rate. Once that raised to 20%, our flat rate was then 15. All right, so we never got taught to manage the money. We never got taught anything. We just saw 500 quid going into our accounts. Well, £2,000 a month going into our accounts, and nobody ever really checked on our VAT and stuff. And so we just thought, you know what, we're on the breadline as it is. And £500 a week for somebody was a lot of money, but not when you got to take into consideration you got to put fuel in your car to travel to. In those days, it was Birmingham, every single week from Hull. So that was a 2.5 hour, 5 hour round trip there. So you had to fuel your car. You had to get to your classes, so you had to fuel your car for that. You had to pay your mortgage. You had to buy food. You had to pay for your phone bill. There was a telephone allowance in with the £2,000 a month. So, but you didn't get told all this. Nothing was really broken down. So we had to pay a lot out. But every person got a pager, which obviously came out of the region fund. Because as a manager, what I didn't really realise was that we shared 40% of the net profit of our region. But we also shared the loss of that region as well. So failing managers would accrue what's called a deficit. So even though we were being paid, we were accruing a deficit. So a GKR's bank balance, or the bank balance for that region, was going into minus. Every month, guaranteed £2,000 minus because of your pay. We opened some halls. I got a team of guys from the Central Zone, which is the part of the country that I was in, and they came up. They stayed with us for a week. We treated them like part of the family. Didn't know this, I was new to it, so the thing of calling me sensei was all right. Yeah, it was a bit weird, but yeah. So I had to actually give one of them an attitude check because we're getting a little bit too comfortable in my house. So I had to give one of them an attitude check, which he ended up crying because that was the thing. You could beat people up and nobody said anything about it. You could get beat up and no one say anything about it. So I signed my agreement as a manager, got money into the bank, etc., and got my limited company set up. Opened the hall, started canvassing. So I went out canvassing. The first door that I actually knocked on actually became an instructor for me. That wasn't too bad. Became a student later on down the line, and then became an instructor. So, Phil, if you're watching this, your karate was very, very good, sunshine. We canvassed for the dojos. We got X amount of members are enrolled. Don't know how many of those were ghost members, and I'll tell you why ghost members. Because when I was a consultant, a group of us went down to Birmingham to help out in Coventry. We got told you're not allowed to go home until your goal is achieved. And because it was a new region, we all set goals of like 20, and we struggled. Sorry, there was someone at the door. I forgot where I was now. This is why I'm not doing these live, because I get lost in comments and things. So we got the halls, and we canvassed and opened up our first 3 locations. We opened up with 98 students. That was the opening week. I forget how many people were enrolled, but we opened up with 98 students, and I was teaching. I think it was a class on a Monday night, class on a Wednesday night, class on a Friday night, and also a class on a Sunday morning as well. So I was teaching because there was no instructors. Some managers actually came up to us later on down the line after our success and actually said, "Oh, we thought you'd been given, all that." I'm like, no, 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 no. We came here with nothing. When I say we, I mean me and my ex-family. We came here with nothing. There was no instructors, no students, no consultants, no classes, nothing. It was just us in a house. That's it. Build it. Okay. As the saying goes, if you build it, they will come. So yeah, 98 students opened. Like I say, on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I was doing training and meetings with the consultants, 12 till 3. And then on a Tuesday and Thursday, meetings with the consultants 2 till 3. But on Thursdays, I was expected to go to management training and management meetings, which I would leave my home at 6 a.m. I would return back on a Thursday at 3. So it's a long day. And then, like I say, on the Monday, taught Monday, 2 classes, 6 till 7, 7:30 till 9. Taught Wednesday, 2 classes, 6 till 7, 7:30 till 9. Taught Friday, 6 till 7, 7:30 till 9. So this is 3 hours teaching each day for the classes. And then Sunday morning, 10:30 till 12 were the classes that we opened with. I can tell you the locations, but it'll be irrelevant to you. And we opened with 98 students. So as you can appreciate, as a manager, I was quite, So Monday would consist of, I'd do training on Monday, 12 o'clock till 1:30. I'd have a meeting 2 till 3. Go home, maybe have something to eat if I could, and then go back out teaching again, driving to all these locations. So I was pretty much wiped out, There came a point where the days that I wasn't teaching, like the Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I had to be out canvassing. So I had to go out with the guys in canvas and help them. So again, as a manager, I didn't get time to be with family or anything. This amazing lifestyle. And then to top it off, once a month, I think it was the first Wednesday of every single month, or the second Wednesday of every single month, we had to go down to Birmingham again for combined training, which was all the consultants in the central zone that I was with. And there might be 30, 40, 50 consultants there, and all the managers, and obviously Bob McCracken as well. And we'd have training, we'd also then have a meeting afterwards, and then we'd drive back to wherever we were and go canvassing. So this again was the consultants. They had to leave at 6 because they came down with me in my car. They'd leave at 6 and they'd get back at 4-ish because of the traffic. Traffic was horrendous on the M1. And then they'd have to go out canvassing. And I might have to go out teaching because it was a Wednesday. So I'd have to go teach. No time to wipe your own backside, as it were. On call 24/7. If your pager goes off, you answer it. If your zone director calls, you answer it. If the fax goes off, you check it. So my mind, my whole thing was conditioned to checking the pager, checking the fax. That was the first and last thing I would do on an evening. I would wake up, check the pager, check the fax, nothing on it, great, let's get about our day, let's do what we need to do. On a night, check the pager, check the fax, reports have gone through. I'll go into the reports in a second. And if once that's done, you can go to bed. So your consultants are out till whatever time canvassing. Now what you had to do as a manager was report. You had to report your nightly attendance. You had to report your nightly yellow tips, which is 6 weeks after starting. You had to report your total monetary value in equipment sold, stock, so uniforms, mitts and pads, that sort of thing. You also had to report how many appointments were made, how many presentations were done, how many of those presentations were successful, and how many members were got for each consultant. So just the members for consultants, but everything else was written down. You had to fax that off. You had to, there was a list of things that you had to, all right, what are tomorrow's priorities, what have you done today, what can we learn from today, that sort of thing. So you had to do nightly reports. These were done Monday to Sunday. And the reports had to be in by, I think it was 11 o'clock. I think it was 11:30, 11 o'clock every single night. So as you can appreciate, you can't go anywhere. You're not allowed to go out for a meal with your family because you have to be back by 11 o'clock. You have no freedom. You can't go out there and, think, I'm going to go to a pub tonight. I'm going to go to a pub. I'm going to take the missus out. I'm going to go to a pub. We're going to get a babysitter. We're going to go clubbing. Because in those days, I was young and, we did clubbing and stuff. So I'm going to go clubbing. I'm going to go to disco. We couldn't do that because we had to be back for a certain time. Now I'm a manager, but yet I'm still being held, to task, as it were. And I just thought, eventually things will change. We'll get there. Things will change. But no, every manager had to have a report faxed off by a set time. It was either 10:30 or 11, something like that. And then once you got a confirmation back from your nightly report, we called it, to say that, it's gone through. You had to make sure that it had gone through to the zone director. You had to fax the zone director every single night to make sure that it's gone through. You then had to wait a little bit longer because sometimes there would be what we call boomerang faxes. Where Bob would have, he'd seen your fax, he'd seen your report, and he would boomerang it back with comments on it, unacceptable, great job. The praise was the same as the reprimand, and you would dread that boomerang fax. This is before you go to bed, all right. If you'd waited up and nothing's happened and the boomerang fax, because the reason it was that late was because things had to be done for Australia. Because GKR Karate was founded in Australia. So Australia is 10 or so hours ahead of us. So when they're faxing their stuff off at 11 p.m., 12 midnight, then it's 10 a.m. over there. So their managers, their EVPs, Bob Sullivan or whatever, could then get their reports in the morning. We had to do them in the evening. So yeah, I suppose Bob was also held accountable to task as well because he had to get reports done and send emails off. Because in those days, emails on your phone was a thing of the future. It wasn't something you could do. Or he could then, we didn't get told this stuff. Or he could then say, "Do you know what, Stacey? I'm going to be out tonight. I'll get it sent over first thing in the morning." "Yeah, no problem, Bob. That's fine." I didn't know this until years down the line that this is what you could do. So we were held to task and we could not go anywhere because we had to be in our offices. My first office was a single bedroom room with a desk in, a sofa bed and my chair, with the fax in one corner, a crappy little telephone that was supplied. The fax machine was supplied. It was a state-of-the-art fax machine. It was a fax machine, photocopier, printer. It was everything. It did everything. So yeah, you got loaned these things. It also came off your advance, what they called an advance on profit. So the income that we had, that was the £2,000, was known as an advance on profit. It wasn't an income. It was called an advance. Because they were giving you the money based on your performance. So everything from the ground upwards was performance related to a manager's point of view. 25 grand as a manager, that's not a bad income, but etc. has to come off it. You've got to do this, and this. So we thought, all right, great. Wait till I tell you what the zone directors earned. You'll be like blown away by this. And then you can probably work out the rest after that. The EVP and Bob Sullivan and stuff. You can probably work out the rest from that. So we got 40% of the profit. We also got 40% of the loss as well of that region. So you're building up a deficit every single month. Your haul hire's got to come out. Your income's got to come out. You're building up a deficit. So the faster you can grow that region, the faster it starts paying its bills. Okay? I don't know if you guys know anything about business, but the first thing in business is you've got to pay your bills. You've got to cover your overheads. So if you're running a hall, for example, that's £20. I'll say £20 for the night, and you only bring in £15. You're already in a deficit of £5. And this is simple maths. This isn't how it was. Some halls would cost 20, but they would then make, you'd pay the hall hire at 20, and then you'd probably have 60, 70 quid over the top. So that's profit. But that 60, 70 quid over the top would go towards paying your income as well. So it was an overall profit and loss situation as a manager. And yeah, so we were held to task. I'll go back to that. We were held to task. We were, had to check in. We had morning calls. So every morning we would call our zone director. No matter where we were, we would make a phone call to our zone director. I can remember once he called me, and I had an old Samsung Flip, and my answer phone on that was from when I was a consultant, and it was it said, because I didn't change I changed the phone, but I didn't change the voicemail. The voicemail was exactly the same, so I thought that'd be funny. You get these voicemails where somebody says, hello, I can't hear you talking, and then they go, I got you. So mine was, hi, you've reached James, sorry I can't get to the phone right now. If you're leaving your name, your number, and I'll call you back when I can be bothered. Harmless. And have in mind that we didn't give our mobile, oh yeah, we did. No, we didn't give our mobile numbers out, we gave our pager number out. So people would only contact the pager, they'd never contact us personally. So I remember Bob calling me back, and Bob called me and he said, oh, g'day, James, when you can be bothered. And he told me that, that's a bit unprofessional. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Hey, because every time we talked to a senior, we always spoke in Japanese, He'd say to me, go, hey. One day he said, cut that Japanese bullshit. Okay, yes, okay, we're talking business now, so cut the Japanese crap and, speak businessy. Yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, stick up your ass, sir. It was scary. I was every morning, there was, every morning I was, what are you doing today? And he'd have to go through all the managers, he'd have to call them. We'd all have set calling times and days. But, because I was failing, I thought, I'm on my way to training, dude. I didn't call him dude. I'm on my way to training. I'm sat in the car park. I've got training at 12. You want me to make a phone call to you at 11:30? And you're going to talk to me for half an hour. So that makes me late for the consultants that rely on me. It's like, hang on a second. This hasn't really been thought through. But I'll adhere to it, and then I'll fanny around. I'll rush around, getting changed and getting into it. There come a point where I just went to the gi. I just went to training a gi. I packed the bag full of normal clothes for the meetings and stuff. So I get changed. I have a pop at Minda this, because she changes maybe 4 or 5 times a day. She can go through 5, 6 different outfits in a day. But I would get changed. I'd wake up, I'd get changed into my gi. I'd get changed then into my business attire, which was just polo shirt and trousers, really, and shoes. I'd then go home. I'd get changed back into a gi, and then go teach. I'd then get changed into what I was going to bed in. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of time to do a lot of stuff. So yeah, held to task, and always on call, 24/7. So my mentality that I had, that I was, you could say, brainwashed, was to keep that pager locked at my hip 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Didn't have to take our phones to bed, but we literally slept with our pagers. But who's going to call me at 3 a.m. in the morning wanting some information on karate? Why would a consultant or an instructor or somebody call me at 3 a.m. in the morning? Why do I need to take it to bed? Because it's the last thing you check, it's the first thing you check. It's the last and first thing that you check on an evening or a morning. So you take your pager. First thing you do when you wake up, check your pager. Last thing you do when you go to bed, check your pager. Any business? No? Okay, great. I can go to sleep now. Provided we've not got a boomerang fax. Now, the boomerang factors for me didn't start until a couple of months down the line. Because GKR's business model was that from day one as a consultant, 5 years on, 1,000 attendance manager, as in you would run a region that had 1,000 students training per week. That was a very slow starter. So yeah, GKR's business model was a 5-year model. It was a 5-year plan to go from day one knocking on your first door to receiving your 1,000th student. And I'll be honest with you, I achieved that. I did it within, I think it was a week after 5 years. So it was 5 years and 1 week. From day one knocking on my first door to achieving 1,000 attendance. And I think the attendance was 1,001 or something silly like that. But I achieved that at the right time. But I'll go into that in a second. Or in another video. So yeah, you know, you held to task. You can't go anywhere. You've got no freedom. There was no freedom whatsoever. You know, this lavish lifestyle that you've been put in front of you, it's just all been a smokescreen. You just feel like it's all been lies. You know, you've got to stand outside a job centre and tout for consultants, because back in those days, we didn't do such things as newspaper adverts. We didn't have Facebook. You know, we didn't have any social media. So we couldn't promote via social media. In fact, GKR's take on social media was Facebook and Twitter. All right, that was GKR's initial take on social media. They absolutely hated it. You weren't allowed to go on social media. It was just a farce. They called it Farcebook. So yeah, we weren't allowed to do any of that. You know, there was no job ads going into the newspaper and such. So we literally stood outside a job centre, touting for consultants, which we did as consultants. We were trained to do as consultants, so we already had that in us. But if you can imagine, you know, banking, you know, all the training fees from the week or from that week needed to be in the bank by Tuesday. So I planned my week. It was like, right, okay, if I go into town on Tuesdays and do the banking before 10 a.m., it's got to be done before 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Heaven forbid if you're late. All right? Before 10 a.m. And then the bank slip had to be stamped and faxed off the same day. So that also had to be faxed to your zone director, so that your zone director can then check that you've actually been to the bank that day and done your banking. Had to be faxed off by, I don't know, 3-4 o'clock. Something silly like that. There was a deadline to that. There was also there was so many routines. It was very regimented, and you were scared to veer off. So I did my banking on Tuesdays, and then I'd stand outside a job centre for a couple of hours in all kinds of weather. All kinds of weather. It was good in the summer because it was the summer. Winter wasn't so good. We didn't have the sort of equipment that they had later on. We literally, our attire was trousers, polo shirt, shoes, and a GKR jacket. It's like a shell suit kind of jacket. And we just took people's names and phone numbers down, and you know, just chatted to them, seeing if they wanted, see if they wanted a better life for themselves. We just talked to anybody, but it was mainly the job centres we targeted. Why? Because there's people there looking for jobs. So when they come out, you see somebody going, and you think, oh, I like the look of that guy. We weren't allowed in the job centres. You couldn't go in there. You had to make appointments to actually go in the job centres. So we thought, oh, I like the look of that person. You know, when they come out, I'll have a chat to them. And that was daunting. You know, my first experience of that was me stood outside Leeds Job Centre and Pete Devlin saying, you see that guy there? I'm like, yeah. He's like, go get him. I'm like, what? What do I say? Just make it up. Okay. Lo and behold, as a manager, I found out there was a script for everything. We could have been actors. So yeah, you know, that's what we do to build a team. You know, we'd go to the job centres. We would get the names, telephone numbers. Do you drive? Because back then, if somebody didn't have transport, you weren't allowed to even interview them. It was no car, no job. Okay, no car, no interview. You've got to drive. You have to drive. And I'm thinking, well, I was the consultant that didn't drive, and yet I've made it to manager. And the reason is because you're expected to be at a certain place. Public transport sucks. So it's just so you're not late. So yeah, no car, no job, no car, no. And I adhered to that, and I struggled. But then I find out that other people are being given authorization by Bob to start somebody who didn't have a car, and it's like, hang on a second, is it one rule for them and another rule for me? Why have you not made this a public thing? Why have you not made this so that everybody in the team knows that this is how we can work now? So that was frustrating. What's even more frustrating is when your zone director decides to pay you a visit. No appointment required. I'm on my way. Okay. Why? And he'd just come and he'd sit in the house. We'd have a cup of coffee. We'd talk. He might go over some things with the team that I had. Because what I did from standing outside a job centre is I actually built a team from 0 to 12. No consultants to 12 consultants. Before then it was hard. So Bob would come up and he'd come to senior class on a night and maybe help out with the instructors, teach the instructors just to show his face. Because from our student base, we brought in instructors, brought them on a what's called a sensei training program, the STP. They weren't black belts. We'd just pick a yellow belt and we'd say, look, you karate. And I'll tell you what, some of them, for a yellow belt and orange belts, they were really, really good. And I just thought to myself, well, I was teaching at an orange belt because you can teach at that grade. You just teach people what you know. You don't have to teach them anything higher. They're all white belts anyway. The one thing that we didn't do is have a certain grade. So, like, for example, me, an orange belt, teaching grades above me. As I was teaching orange belt, they were all white belts that I took on, that I started, as were everybody else. So as a yellow belt, you can teach people white belt stuff. As an orange belt, you can teach people up to yellow belt stuff, and so on and so on and so on. So there was nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But these people were just ordinary people. All sorts of walks of life. Didn't have, they weren't training people skills. They weren't training teaching. It was a case of where every week they would come to me and I would make sure that they were training karate properly. Okay? And then what they would do is they'd take ideas that I gave them and they would then go and put those into class. That was the idea behind the sensei training program. So we used our network that we had to draw people in. So from even the consultants, a good consultant that's getting 20, 25 members a week, you can say, right, okay, how do you feel about teaching? Get a couple of members on your teaching night and go teach a class. So we'd even have consultants teaching. As a consultant, I was teaching, but still expected to get members on that night as well. So there was a lot of expectation. And as the saying goes, the student will rise to the level of expectation. So we actually rose to the level of expectation. Bob would come up and, we'd sit and he might do an audit. An audit would just consist of him checking all my paperwork's all right, checking that, that I'm doing things right, my stock levels are okay, that everything matches, the reports match the class sheets and so on, just so, I'm not skimming off the top or anything. So that was basically, he'd come up and do senior class and I'll be honest, having him around in my house was draining. I didn't like any of his visits whatsoever, from start to finish. I didn't like him coming up. I actually didn't like the phone calls that we had to do every morning. I didn't like doing those. they caused anxiety, which I didn't know at the time. Some of the conversations that we'd have caused depression, which I didn't know at the time. Because at the time, I just saw depression and anxiety as a state of mind. It's positive mental attitude, suck it up, buttercup, that kind of thing, things can't be all that bad. I'm probably going to go into depression in my next video. So yeah, I found those draining. And a bit of a chore, really. Because it's like, well, the guy's here. What am I going to do? What have we actually got in common? What can I entertain him with? What can he do? He might even have dinner with us. And it's like, this is a bit weird. This is really strange. Your boss has just popped up out of nowhere. Sometimes he'd say, I'm coming up next week, or I'm coming up in a couple of days' time. But sometimes he'd just rock up. I've heard stories that there was a guy. I won't mention the name, but there was a guy, because he was no longer around. He kind of left before I even started, or after I started. So yeah, there was a guy, and apparently Bob got wind of this guy, and this guy had not done his banking. So Bob just rocked up to his door. Where's the class fees? Found out they'd all been spent. This guy had spent all the class fees, and it was payday. Took him down to the bank, made him withdraw his cash from the bank and take that as class fees. Now, whether that's hearsay or not, I don't know. But that's a story that I got told. I'm like, nah. So yeah, dragged him out of his house. This is, again, the words that I'm using are words that I was told. So whether this is true or not, I've got no idea. But yeah, rocked up at his house, dragged him out of his house, found all sorts in his house, found all kinds of stuff. I heard there was animal porn. I heard that this guy's missus was walking around in skimpy underwear. Consultants were staying over. They were weed smoking. Lo and behold, this guy no longer existed. he was gone, which is fair enough. I mean, that's unacceptable. Number one, you don't spend the class fees because it's not your money. Number two, you don't act the way you did. So, I don't blame, if the story of dragging him out of his house and making him take his money out of the bank is true, then I don't blame Bob for that. I don't blame him whatsoever for that. I can see why he would do it, and I don't blame him. I think, good on you. So kudos for that. But yeah, so that's, but yeah, it was a drain. It was tiring. And I didn't really see that. I didn't really see it as anxiety. I just saw it as just a bit of fear that, I've got to explain myself now to my zone director every single day. He's coming up and I've got to, figure out what am I going to do. And, I generally just sit at home and I don't do anything. I do my training, I do my meetings, and I sit and I go to class. So what am I going to do? There was one time that I was a failing manager. And I was put on what's called a recovery program. Now, the recovery program was, again, daily calls. So you had to call every single day, Monday to Friday. Saturdays and Sundays, no, you didn't have to. That was your day off. Day off from that. As long as reports are done on those nights by 10:30, 11 o'clock. So I had to do daily calls. I had to do a daily book review. So I had to write, read a few pages of a book and review it and write it down. That got faxed off. This is all by 10 a.m. So you had to fax it off by 10 a.m. And that's just to make sure you're out of bed, basically. And then get 5 members a week and conduct 5 interviews. So within that week, this just added pressure. So within a 5-day period, for the members, it was a 7-day period. For a 5-day period, I had to teach the consultants, do my daily book review, do my daily calling, some days get the banking done, teach classes, get 5 members in the week, find 5 people to interview in that week, and to check you'd done it, you had to fax off the people you've interviewed. You had to fax it all off. check the people that you'd interviewed. You had to fax in the blue slips, which were like a counter slip of the original, to just prove that you'd signed up 5 members. Your book review was done daily. Your calls were done daily. You had to get your nightly report done daily. And if you didn't get your goal by Friday, you bet you was out there Saturday. Now, as a consultant, I didn't like Saturdays and Sundays working, but you would be out there Saturday and Sunday if you had to. Heaven forbid, by Monday morning, you've got to phone Bob McCracken and you've not got your 5 members. But I'll go into that in a second. I might talk about the depression and the anxiety stuff, and maybe I'll do that later on, I don't know. So that's basically how I started off as a manager. The recovery program opened up on 98 students, found students from within the region, found instructors within the student base, found consultants within the instructor base, the student base. So we'd look all over the place. There came a point then, later on, down the line, years down the line, where we could place job ads in the local paper. We can, social media started to become a big thing. We'd go onto the web, we'd place job ads in the job centre, etc., etc. So, we had another avenue, if you like, to get names and numbers to start as consultants. So yeah, having him around was a drain. I can remember as a manager, I rocked up to a management training, and I didn't shave that day at all. I mean, my beard grows. If I shave now, I'll have stubble by 5 o'clock. That's only a few hours off. So I remember going into a management training and I had some stubble. I hadn't shaved that morning. And Bob comes up behind me, whispers in my ear, "Have you shaved today?" No, Sensei. "The next time you don't shave, it's 250 push-ups. And then if you forget to do it after that, it's 500 and it'll just keep doubling." Well, his voice in your ear is quite scary. I mean, he was a scary man. Skinny little me at the time, still a young pup, he was a scary man. You did not cross that guy. You knew you were in bother. And he knew how to make you feel uncomfortable. Very, very uncomfortable. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to upload this to YouTube. Again, give us a comment, give us a like. I will say this for Bob, though. Throughout the years, he taught me a hell of a lot. Not only in the karate, but in the business. I feel, didn't know it at the time because it was hard. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, was one of the sayings. If it's to be, it's up to me. There's loads of other bullshit. But I didn't see it at the time. But the way he was with me seemed different to everybody else. But he made me strong in my karate. He pushed me to a limit and then beyond it. He made me a good salesperson. He made me a great salesperson. He raised my confidence. And again, I couldn't see it at the time because I just saw everything as a chore. He raised my confidence. He raised my attitude. He helped me raise my income. He basically raised everything about me. So I will give him that. Like I say, it wasn't all bad. Not everything was bad. But Bob McCracken was known, don't know about today, was known as a powerhouse in the whole industry. You did not cross this man. His karate was powerful. This guy was strong. I'll tell you a story about that later on, but he was strong. Kumite, very strong. Kata, very strong. Everything strong. Okay? I still aspire to be Shian, though. wasn't as good as Sheehan, but he was powerful. And in the business, he had a powerful presence. You knew he was in the room. His presence was just there. You know, that guy did not have to say, I'm in charge. You knew he was in charge. And you knew he was hard as nails. All right? He put the fear of God into people. But people performed because of it. I performed because of it. I became successful because of that. So because of that, Bob, I want to thank you for it. You know, you've not always been a horrible person. But because of that, I thank you. You helped me a hell of a lot. You made me become the person that I was when I was at my peak. So thank you for that. You rocked. You were strong. You made me strong. I aspired to be as strong as you. Like, subscribe, comment, you know the scenario. And don't forget, GKR is always watching. I'll see you in the next vid.